We are the endless roar. Water is life. This project is about life. There's a lot of African Americans who are returning back to the spirituality that our forefathers practiced from the beginning of the world. And a lot of continental Africans have left the spirituality. They are now practicing Islam, Christianity. With regards to this project, Baba Asiwaju Awo Agbaye, he's a high-ranking Babalawo who knows how to communicate with God.
Aboye, Aboshishe, Agbato.
Baba is Asiwaju Awo Agbaye, which is, the forerunner, the leader. He's also that in this project because it's a spiritual project. And I rely on him a great deal to understand where we're going.
The project we have is a project of a better tomorrow.
Because black people have always been portrayed as poor, dangerous human beings. So one of the reasons for this project is to empower our people on the continent and outside the continent to believe in themselves, to appreciate those things that God has given us and utilize these things to better ourselves. In our culture, there are certain waters. If people are sick, they get healed when they drink this water. There's so many different waters like this. The Western world imitated and they've commercialized the concept of sacred water without actually having the water do anything for the people. But here in Nigeria, we have the waters. No one is on television or radio and saying, send me X amount of money for this bottle of water that will heal you or take care of this, and that. We don't do that. All the waters in these various places that we will visit, Ile-Ife, Ikun, Oshogbo, Arugungun, they're special waters that have healing properties. They're waters that are associated with deities that God has sent to help humanity. I would tell you that the deities in these waters are all female. A mother who takes care of her children.
Center deity, center Orisha in what we are doing is my mother, Osho, representing woman.
So I'm on a mission to promote God's creation. I'm on a mission to give people the correct perspective about Africa and her people.
For the African Americans in the diaspora, many of them don't know that they came from somewhere, and somewhere they came from is even more important than where they are today. We don't blame them because they don't know. We have to make them know. So this project is to wake them up that African Americans, we do a lot of great things in the world. We should not forget our home.
And that's what it is about. If you know who you are, if you know where you have come from, then you know where you should be going. That's what this whole process is all about. As I was putting the project together, I thought I would have 16 people. But to get 16 people, you have to plan a year and ahead. I didn't have the luxury of that because I also work. So I ended up with 2 people.
And we drove the equivalent of about 7 hours from the airport. Yes, I like the way they did
I can take that back to New York.
Malika, I knew many years in America. A young lady, talented, always eager to achieve, to do things, to know who she is. She never dreamed she could even come to Nigeria. But as I already had it, she had the opportunity. Tammy, I never met. Tammy, like I made to know, a musician, a book writer, a dressmaker, a person that lived her life in the city, has read a lot of books.
Tammy is my friend.
Sure did.
I've invited her to some of my concerts that I organized, so where she performed. And she's also invited my group to her concert.
I don't know Malika personally the way that Joyce and I know each other as 2 professionals know each other. I'm probably old enough to be Malika's grandmother. So I think you get a very different perspective because you have one old person Well, I'm only calling myself old for the purpose of this interview. Because I'm not old.
She just called me one day and said, Joyce, I'm going with you. I was shocked. I was shocked because I wasn't expecting her.
Yeah, you know, I don't want to just keep talking about Africa. I got to show up.
My grandma, who just turned 90, said, don't go to Africa. It's just bush animals. It's dangerous. And I'm like, Grandma, why? She's like, it's dangerous. But I know she's been watching television for her whole life.
I want to feel it. Real, see Africa real. Like tomorrow, after breakfast, you will have to do a welcome back home ceremony, which is intense. In Africa, the greatest thing they use to evoke the ancestors is the native drum, the talking drum. So you have the opportunity to speak your mind to say, hey, the ancestors are here.
It was important that I brought them to the grassroots. We could have landed and stayed in Lagos, but you see, it will not do anything for their psyche because it'll just be the same thing that we see in New York. I wanted them to come to the grassroots, as it were, because that's where life is. That's where changes in your life begin, when you start to see things in a different light. It may inspire you to invent new things. It may inspire you to appreciate the life that you have. It may inspire you to assist other people who are in need.
Today I'm wearing white because today is Obatala Day. And I've been practicing Ifa African tradition and learning, so I know that Obatala wears white. Also, the Babalawo, which is Baba, he said to wear white for today in connection with the divination that is going to go on today.
It's all a learning experience. I mean, the divination, I didn't have any clues about what that was going to be about. None at all.
We can describe it as divination, but I can say it's like, tell us who you are. People who introduce you will only say what they know of you. But when you introduce yourself, it will be more comprehensive. It will be genuine. And the system by which a person can introduce himself or herself is the spirit of that person talking. So there are systems we do to make their spirit talk, to decipher their dream. The dream they had in the great beyond when they were coming, the spiritual world, they were programmed by God the Little Man. But when they navigated through the spiritual water and blood of life, through a woman to come to this world, a process needs to be applied to unlock this dream for proper introduction of who they are. And that's exactly what we advise them to do.
Walking into the ceremony, so when you enter a church in America, you always see, the spiritual leader. So it was the same thing. It's a little room. There were other spiritual priests. Babalaos, everybody is sitting down, mostly quiet, so you're just wondering what exactly is about to take place.
When people have gone away from their land, several generations passed, and that child happened to come back, we are happy for you that you have made it finally. You are home. So to make your coming back home very meaningful, the traditional process is being done by experts that have been instructed the way to do it. And that is, divination is unlocking the dream of a person. We need to understand what is even Orisha. Orisha are the messengers, the apostles, the ambassadors of God the Ledumare, the only one God that connects the whole universe, to establish an extension of the spiritual world, to bring out the dream of God, that man has to exist, trees have to grow, birds have to fly in the sky, and to do all of the biddings of Eledumare, as laid down by 256 corpuses of oral sacred citation called the Gospel. Yoruba people call it Ifa.
Ifa, we please call on you to please be present to listen to the wish of your daughter, who has left the shores of this country for a long time. And the wicked ones call that point of living point of no return. Fortunately, with your grace, God, Eledumare, this place has been a point of return. So, daughter of Ojudua, you can talk to the oracle to unlock your dream when your ancestors left, what has happened to you, and you're coming back now, all you wish for yourself.
Don't let me fail on this journey. I'm here, I pray. Don't let me drop the torch, creativity.
What we do in divination is not guesswork. There are principles that have been laid down by God through Ifa liturgy.
That is the main file of the dream. Now, unlocking of the file will start by chants from the priests.
I have seen these things before because I attended a ceremony before in California at Baba's house. They just do what our ancestors have been doing since the beginning of time. They're just giving you the message. It's not coming from them. It's all spiritual. It's all from God. I didn't understand anything, so I just sat and waited. Then Baba was able to translate the divination.
There are 4 pillars that you have in this world that you have to call upon all of the time and take care of them. The spirits of your father, the spirits of your mother, your own spirit, your Ori, and your Orisha. If it's Shango, if it's Sifa, you have done it because, I always say that everybody comes to this world with an assignment.
It's important for me to find out my purpose, not just the role I play as a student or a daughter. We do a lot of things, and you say, oh, I want to do this. This is my goal, to be an artist or a teacher or a lawyer, and that's great, but we all have this natural voice inside that says, is this all I'm supposed to be?
Even sometimes you can go your whole life deciding that you should be this or that, and it never works out. And maybe that's the reason why, because you were never supposed to be that.
We need to be who God created us to be. We cannot be someone else. We didn't create ourselves. There are rules and regulations that God has placed down for us to follow so that we can succeed in life and be healthy. And as we move away from that wisdom of God, we begin to do things that we should not be doing. And that results in a lot of problems for us, physical, mental, spiritual problems, which we don't even know about.
You can't have this experience if you don't want the experience. If you're not open to receive, you can't get.
What we have been taught about African tradition, to be honest, it's spooky, it's not good. But that is sad because more people should be learning about this tradition, but even TV, media, everything plays a part of it. So by the time you get to a certain age, you want to embrace Western culture, even everybody else's culture, but African, oh no, I'll take the dance, but I don't want to get into it like that.
When people heard I was going, they were like, "You're going? You're going there?" I'm going to be honest with you. There'll be a lot of African Americans that say, I don't want to do that wild stuff. This is so crazy. I'm not. This is like something that savages, whatever. There's people who would definitely dismiss this whole thing. The divination was so powerful and so authentic. That was an introduction to traditional African religion. for me. And I have learned so much that if I were to go home tomorrow, the trip is already totally worthwhile.
Every human being must set a date to celebrate himself or herself by celebrating the part of God that is in the person. That is the spirit inside man. We call it the Festival of Gratitude. That is Odun Ifa of Oshogbo land, where I was born, which traditionally has to be in the month of Ogun, which is August. But my mother, Oshun, had told me, has instructed me, has asked of me to be feeding her a day to the general celebration of the town. That is a very special thing that I do yearly. Feeding is appeasement, the traditional way of thanking God. Giving gratitude, because gratitude is food of God and food of all the Orishas.
And in our tradition, they said that if you show appreciation for something that you have, it opens up the door for more blessings to come. You know, in a Western society, people just take it for granted, you know. Oh, you do something for me, I don't need to thank you. Why? Don't you understand that that person who's doing something for you was sent by God to do that for you? So if you say thank you, you're actually thanking God.
The most intense moments for me when the priestess, she passed out, she just went back. Also, my mother, Iya Oshun Joyce, she had the same experience. And I'm just like, wow. For a second, I thought that Miss Tammy was about to have a trance too. I just turned back and I saw her stumbling, but I thought she was not going to really fall, but then she still fell. And she told me why she fell. She said that it was the wrong shoes, that she just fell because her shoes were uneven on the rocks. I don't know her conclusion later on.
Yeah, this morning I decided that I was taken down. Yeah, I had on a bad pair of shoes. But this morning I said, maybe that was Oshun making me fall down on her land. I think it was, you don't know me and you're on my land. You worship me. Bow down. That's the spiritual way I thought of what happened to me.
So even though I have been practicing Ifa African tradition, I never had that type of level of experience in terms of spirituality. And I was just wondering, how come I'm not experiencing that at all? So I was kind of not jealous. I just want to know what it feels like to be used spiritually in that way. Baba explained that you have to be committed to your Orisha.
If you need somebody to translate for you, you need somebody to chant, you need somebody to decipher with Orisha. It's direct. It's going to come into a person and speak. And the only way you can do that is that, you see, you need to really get involved
You have
with
to
Orisha.
really be in. You have to be.
You have to give everything. You have to really
have to put your body,
give everything. So because he has to come
to
in.
speak to you.
That's the thing. Wisely, I've chosen that same day that immediately I leave the riverside to appease Oshun, I'll go straight to appease my father, who is late. Because when you respect, venerate, and appease the spiritual parents, you should not forget the physical and biological parents. So give him a ram spiritually. Thanking him for all he has done for me when I was living and what he's still doing for me when he's living in the great beyond. I'm begging him to give me more. And from there, move straight to the burial site of my grandmother, where she's sleeping with my mother. So give a goat to my mother. Take care of her mother too, another goat. Then now go to my great-grandmother's burial site, which I call the departure terminal. The first Yalode, head of the women of my town, the richest woman ever lived in my town. You see that ruin? That's her palace that she bought for herself when she was reigning. I was born in her house. I lived with her till she passed. And since then, I've been remembering because she did a lot as the head of all of the women of my town. So these are my spiritual obligations that is annual, and I believe doing this, God will be happy with me and give me several years more to live.
The experience with Baba, dedication to his parents, I thought that was a deep gesture. I'm like, wow, I should be doing more for my parents. I do this much for my parents, and they are my foundation. They're the reason why I'm here. And how could I expect more blessings if I don't value my family, especially when they pass on?
I find that really admirable and important that he's willing to venerate his ancestors in a ritualistic way, you know, and go back and go back and go back. At some point, I got very overwhelmed. I felt something very powerful come over me. A sense of loss for me, abandonment. And I asked Baba a rhetorical, I said, why did they send us away? He basically tried to make me feel, well, you're back, and, you know, you're back. But it's like trying to absorb things that for 400 years, you know, trying to take in an ancestry that's been gone, you know, for 400 years, you know. I think my sadness was not just for me individually, but for my immediate people, the African American, that it's so far away from us that it'll be so hard to relearn. It's that old saying, can you teach an old dog a new trick, you know? This old dog is trying to learn new tricks.